Hey people, I googled the mark of Cain images and this is what come up. I haven't even looked into it. It appears to me it was some image on a video game or something that people are now tattooing or burned into them. And that's the first question I ever had. About 10 years ago when I started doing this, an old man asked me, what was the mark of Cain? And I was surely wrong then. I didn't understand how to compare the Latin. But they'll say here in Wikipedia, the word meaning mark could mean sign, an omen, a warning, remembrance. A mark of Cain is God's promise to offer Cain divine protection from premature death, so anyone finding him didn't kill him. And then the Septuagint translates the mark as a sign. And in Judaism over here, they just getting all crazy with it. They said, God gave Cain a dog, making him an example for murderers. That makes no sense. And one of these rabbis says that God made a horn grow out of Cain. This one says it was a mark of the Tetragrammaton, engraved a letter of God into his forehead. What a bunch of schmoes. But looking at this artwork from, I think 1950s, it says, he's got the Chivo up here tattooed on his forehead. 1956. This lets me know that there is somebody who still understands this. But if you Google translate Jerome's Latin, they put a bunch of extra words in there. They're trying to blend the Greek and the Hebrew together. But if you look in a Latin, this first line, in Hadam whereof a cognavit, which shorum swam, have 'em quests, have 'em search of, and had 'em whereof cognavit, and know his wife, and Adam knew his wife, and have 'em whereof cognavit, ashore swam, and they woke up and swam ashore, and have 'em a quest, in search of, a concepit, and prepare it, a candescens. The candescens, like medicines, and this is the candescens. You've been out on a boat for a long time, you want to go get some vegetation to eat. But down here at the mark of Cain, it lets you know real quick that it's not here, because there is no mark of Cain in the Latin. It's consignum, to consignum. That means on board the boat, you're putting somebody else's product on and bringing it somewhere to sell, to consign them, in the care of, in my care, somebody else's property in my care, and posit, and position, and place, cued, where them in, was consignum. What none interficerit. And that's like interpret, but not just interpret, but you have to be wise in many fields, to professor it. You have to read and put many different fields together to understand. You have to understand astrology. And that's what it says is when he's taken chart of the stars, and his wife, Eve is the one that charted the heavens. And posit cued them in was, and the place it where them in, placed them in was consign them, under the care of. And so, your medicines, you didn't have to put all the ingredients on there back in the day. All you had to do is put that maker's mark, that consignment mark in, and it would be coded in the consignment mark what none could interficerit, whom all is why invent is it whom invents it. That's where the word invents, to invent, comes from. Invents yet, not yet. And it's saying, by classifying, label everything in its category, in its qualities, you could see what's yet to come, what's invents yet whom. Everything gets placed in its domain, the Lord, and its kingdom, and its king, and its phylum, its love, and its class, and order, and family. And all these old Latin words, they have a meaning. It's a number, same as the Hebrew. It's like the periodic table, by putting everything, classifying all in its place, charting it all, you could see what would be found in the future. And Dixicute, and the word pointed, hit 'em and was in wah wah ma. That's wah wah wah. And they interpret that as in no way will it happen. It's not going to happen. Wah wah wah. And this translator here interprets that as God forbid, in wah wah itified. And God forbid it. It won't happen. And so this is the unbreakable code. I tell you the QU reads as a W. W-A-W-A-M. In Watwam itified. To make it like itified it of not going to happen. And the pointed Q to hit 'em in as in not going to happenified. A setum in is why a siderate. A siderate is a judge, the one who makes the decisions. I am the asider here. The asiderate conceptuplum opponenter. Septiplum is stick in your thumb and pull out a plum. The thumb oppuniter to, punishment, the punitor. And that's coming from, the sept. The same in the Hebrew. Sept, is the middle, the septum, when the scale is septum, that's septible, in the middle, the 7, and you would accept the judgment, the sept of to, the sept of tuum, punitor, and place it where in was consignum. What none inefficerate, whom all, who omni is, why invent is yet whom. Let's talk about keeping your trade secrets to your medicines, not giving up that information, just putting a maker's mark on it, and to consign them, to send them off to sell. A batch of goods destined, or action of delivering, an agreement to pay after the goods are sold, and place it where the Lord consign them, domain, where it belonged, the domain was consign them. And just the last half of this line beside each other in the Greek and the Hebrew. And you see in the Hebrew, it's also a Cain mark. And the only place you have the sign to Cain is in Greek. And you see the word that they're interpreting here where it was interficit, they say do away with, and it was get away with the ability for people to enter, and interchange and fessor it and create it. To interfissor it, they changed the language where a computer can't read this language. It can't interpret and fessor and create out of it. And finding, you see, it's an invent is yet, the finding. Invent is yet is what it means. Invent is yet whom. Something that hasn't been yet invented. Somebody knows how to put this language together and get an idea and to work in that direction. And that's what the ancient people did. They looked for all the connections between everything. They connected that with God. And when they connected the language to it, it made more sense of everything. Made quicker work of everything. And in the Hebrew, and set the Lord on Cain a mark, as L is to Cain. But it's wisdom. And wisdom you'll find out. You will find out. You will find out. A liability, the cut. And then backwards and forwards. What at? The cut, what at? A cull, and to eat. And backwards and forwards, and the VA turns into the DE or the TE. And it's a debts, the DETS, the debts. And then mix of. And anyone finding him. To call debts mix of. And if you look at that whole line in the Hebrew, it's, therefore whoever kills is to a canceller. The canceller. It sounds like the mafia man. Hey, send the canceller over there. Not the chancellor, the canceller. He's going to kill him. You done had your chance. Now's your chance. and yammer to Yule Canceller. The Canceller Jicken, like the magician, the Jicken, a Canceller Jicken. Sobotomy. SBOTIMY. A sobotomy. Like a lobotomy. It's getting cut off. And the Canceller Jicken sobotomy come. Sobotomy come. Is that time. And therefore whoever kills Cain sevenfold, vengeance shall be taken on him. And yammer, Yule Canceller Jicken sobotomy come. Why's who's the name, who is it, and who's you'll find out. Liability, the cut, what at a call, the debts mix of. And I missed this on the top. That doesn't read the Chancellor until you're reading just the A words backwards. But when you're reading this, it's the cancelled agreement, the cancel the Greer chicken. But when you're reading it with the A words backwards here, this is wisdom you'll find, FIN and backwards, the D. And then the VA reading is the DE or the TE. And you'll find indelibility, indelible ink, something that doesn't wipe off. The indelibility, its ability to stick. The cut, what a call, the mix of. The cut, what a call, mix of. And that spells out plain as day over here in the Greek. And it tells what the word Abel means, and this is the word Abel, and it means do away with. That's why Abel had to die. The N before the E reads as the bet, ABEL or AVEL, and it's where the word of villain comes from. And it comes from the farmer who knew what to cut, what a cull, the mix of. He knew what herbs to mix of. And so this was a war between the evelyn, the farmers, the drug dealers, and the priest, the Khan. I said it before. Why did Cain want to kill Abel? What did Abel have? He wasn't nothing but a pastor ovium. He was the pastor. He had the sheep following him. He had the flock. Abel had the flock. The evil, and can grease all, and factum, and madest of them, after post, after multos, after many dies, what offer it. And he's done tried these medicines out on many of, and multi dies, what offer it. Can defructivus, and get 'em high and defrocked 'em and take that ass. And can defructive Asteris moon here had 'em in. Abel was a guru that had a big following. Abel was Jesus, and the Khan, the priests were hating it. They wanted his flock. That should be the most important question. What happened to Abel's flock after he died? Where's the flock? And they're easy to find. They've been putting their mark up high, the mark of the flock. Ancient times, the flock, they lost their shepherd. They're all in fear. And so God gave them this mark. Hey, don't be scared. Just carry this mark, the mark of Cain. I know I just choked a bunch of y'all up, but it definitely, that's what it says in the Greek. There is no Cain in Greek. This Kai turns into a W. This means win, the mark of win. It's called the mark of win. Just tell me when. Tell me when. When. When you're on the boat shooting stars, it's a two-man job. One guy's looking at the stars, and one guy's looking at his clock. And he says, now, when. And this God assigned to Cain is odd, O-D, odd, hazy, come high on to win? Whether to carry as odd, has he come high on to win? And too much, like TOOMH, too much. To not, thou shalt not. No, that's too much. Stop. No more. Win, to win, and too much. No, that's too much there. A villain oughtn't pant it of who risk unto oughtn't. The pant it of who risk unto oughtn't. Finding the one who's a risk unto. And then you see where they got this do away with when you read the A words backwards. This is kneeling, Nielen, kneeling, and another one backwards. The kneeling on and at upon. The kneeling on at upon. In odd has he come high on. It's strange that he should get high. To win too much. Kneeling on. At, and then DEP. At dependence of who risk on. And to a nada. NOTTE, a nada. And whether to carry as odd, has he come high on to win? Too much kneeling on it depend. At of who risk on to nada. And so, the sign of Cain, we looked at the other day, it's the same as the pig. When column, why come when column, the when. And the pig is a sign of the end, it's the last. And so when something leans too much, too much of a lean oughtn't, well, that's time to do away with him. He's leaning too far left. And so too much of a lean, lean is running perfect, just the right amount of fuel and air mixture. And too much of a lean, when it's running too good, oughtn't. You shouldn't do that. Font it of who a risk unto oughtn't. You might give away, if you make all this writing too plain, you might give away the secrets. Too much of a lean oughtn't. Font it on who risk unto oughtn't. So nothing about the story of Cain and Abel makes any sense. The King James story they give you. If it made sense to you, you'll never get this. But it's all designed to make intelligent people ask questions and think about it. And then the lazy people, just put on their sign. Put on the sign of Cain, the mark of Cain. Wear your sign so we'll know not to ask you anything.
I just hate stupid people. They should have to wear signs that just say, I'm stupid. That way you wouldn't rely on them, would you? You wouldn't ask them anything. Be like, excuse me. Oh, never mind. I didn't see your sign.
So I'm going to cut this off here. I'm going to say it one more time. I think this Fat Catawba Way was my best video yet. The story of an ancient burial. And it's still getting the worst amount of views. And it's not quite what the cover says. But it's showing how to tie the ancient language together when Moses come off the mountain. And I'll leave the link of it right up here. And I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.